What is good, everyone? Welcome to the Chatterbox Bearcats football-only edition today. We're not talking about the departure of Jizzle James from the Hoops team. We are turning the page, talking about the football Bearcats, third year of Scott Satterfield. Get hyped, everyone. We open up at Arrowhead Stadium, taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who have a storied tradition, have not been great as of late. A winnable game to some, to others, they think that tradition is everything because the Bearcats don't stand a chance. We got Connor Happer on the show today alongside Houdini. He's the host of the Happer Show on 1620 The Zone over in Nebraska. You can hear him on the Creighton baseball call. Locked on Nebraska, does a little bit of everything. Connor, how are we feeling ahead of this game, man?
Yeah, people have been excited around here for this for a really long time. To get back to Kansas City is a good thing for Nebraska fans, and glad it ended up falling in their lap a little bit. So, yeah, people are excited around here.
Nebraska touchdown favorite early, and it goes to show you that the pollsters and the public and the coaches, and I'm guessing Nebraska fans are high on this team. They were 7-6 last year, 3-6 in the Big Ten, and from a vacuum, you look at that and you say, that's nothing special. But in terms of what Nebraska has been over the last decade, because this has been one of the is this the year programs of this millennium, along with Tennessee, who's now out of that category, the Miami Hurricanes, just storied programs that haven't done a ton as of late. So I got to say, is this the year?
Maybe. Maybe. I think people around here, there's good reason to say that it could be. There's a lot of things trending in the right direction. I think first and foremost, there's some belief in the coach around here, and that always helps. He's going into his third year, Matt Rhule. And last year he had a freshman quarterback in Dylan Raiola paired with the wrong offensive coordinator, and they made a change during the middle of the season and brought in Dana Holgorsen, which is something that they were going to do before last year, and it just didn't work out for Dana. So about 3/4 of the way through the season last year, they made the change. They showed some pretty good improvements on offense in the last quarter of the season. Maybe not from a statistical standpoint, but I just thought it looked a lot cleaner, and you could see that original idea of Dylan Raiola kind of come back, because he sort of lost it in the middle of the season, and people were starting to wonder. Went out in the portal in the offseason, grabbed a couple wide receivers out of the portal, and Dane Key from Kentucky and Isaiah Hunter from Cal to pair him along with Ja'Cory Barney, who had 50+ catches last year for Nebraska. Emmett Johnson returns as the full-time, the guy at running back for the first time in his career. So I think they feel really good about where they're at on offense. Defensively is it's a bit of a question. They lost a lot. They have a new defensive coordinator, but I think they have a pretty good idea of how they want to do things on that side of the ball as well. There's kind of a mystery, but I think everybody around here universally expects them to be, a step or two better than they were a year ago.
Yeah, so you mentioned Matt Rhule. So many people are saying Scott Satterfield, most dangerous coach heading into the year 3. Now, Matt Rhule's got the same scenario, and it looks like generally, like you just mentioned, the fans still feel pretty confident from just the banter I've seen on Twitter over the last several weeks. What happens in a scenario where Scott Satterfield, they go into Arrowhead and they beat Nebraska with, 95% Cornhusker fans in attendance? I mean, are they just going to completely drop, or what happens? What are the vibes with Matt Rhule if he actually loses this opener?
I think I don't think it'll blow up. I think he's a pretty consistent guy. It would shake the fan base, that's for sure. They obviously wouldn't be happy about starting the season off, because with a loss, one of the things that people like to talk about with this group is they do have a little bit of a softer run up should they get by Cincinnati, two kind of bye games afterwards with Akron and Houston Christian, and then that leads into a big home game against Michigan at the end of September. So they're going to put some eggs into that basket. Should they be 3-0, probably would be ranked right around that time. So it would take a lot of the juice out of that. It would take some of the juice out of the season for sure. And, if Nebraska is to win, 6, 7, 8 games at the end of the year or more, and they lose the Cincinnati game, they'll probably look back at the end of the season and say, man, how did that happen? If we were able to sort of navigate it and have a high win total, at least compared to the last 2 years, then then how did that happen? So I don't think, I wouldn't be in full freak out mode. It would be surprising. It's a game that I think I expect Nebraska to win, and I think that a lot of people around here expect them to win. But I don't think it would shake the program to its core or anything like that.
I mean, I would hope not. We were in the playoffs just a couple of years ago, Connor. I mean, things aren't that bad in Bearcat land. No, they're pretty bad. They're pretty bad under Scott Satterfield right now. I will say this about Nebraska fans, and I'm not going to lump them all into just the comments section on our page, but A, wonderful people, B, extremely passionate, C, extremely confident in this game. And for a program that really the last time I feel like I've seen them on the national stage was in I Love You, Man, when Jim Carrey was randomly going to a Huskers game.
Yes, man.
Yes, man. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I Love You, Man, Paul Rudd. Yes, man. It does feel like there's a lot of confidence surrounding this program right now. And I was kind of being facetious saying, like, is this the year program of the decade with Nebraska? But is this how it feels every year entering a season? There's just blind hope, or does this year feel different?
It's a good. That's a really fair way to put it, because there is a lot of blind faith and optimism around here every year, but there's always been reasons, I think, for people to sort of say this is why it's different this year. Now, how tangible do those reasons end up being, and how do they end up playing out on the field when they get to September, October, November? Those are different things. I don't think Nebraska fans are putting blind faith in saying that Dana Holgorsen and Dylan Raiola are going to be a good combination. I think there's evidence to say that Dana Holgorsen is a top tier offensive coordinator in college football, and with a guy with the arm talent that Dylan Raiola has, he'll be able to make that work. So I think that's where a lot of the optimism comes from. There's been other years around here. Let's go back to in 2019, for example. It was Scott Frost's second year. They started 0-6 in 18, so his first year, and then they won 4 out of their last 6. They nearly beat Iowa. They pushed Ohio State. They lost, by less than a touchdown in that game, and they went 4-8 that season. But people felt really good. And then they had a second year starting quarterback coming back, and Adrian Martinez, and that season just never quite got off the ground because of an early season loss that they had on the road against Colorado. And it was an ultimate gut punch loss. They were up 17-0, and Colorado hit a flea flicker, and all of a sudden the game was different. So I think there is some comps from this year to that year. That team was thinner. I think this team has more depth and more experience than that team did. And I think ultimately Matt Rhule is probably a better coach, but yes, people do convince themselves of things pretty much every year, but there's some, I don't know, you could say this year might feel maybe a little bit different.
It's like our basketball program, man. I was claiming Final Four when Mick Cronin brought in 10 JUCOs from Cincinnati State and Amherst and Texas. I was a Final Four, so it happens. The best of us, man.
Yeah. It's definitely all, especially this time of year. I mean, you're talking to me at the exact right time, because this is the ultimate peak of Kool-Aid season, as it's called around here, where we're just, camp's over.
Oh, yeah.
Camp's over, and like there's a week before the game, nothing really is going to happen between now and then. So it's like, what are we going to do besides convince ourselves that they can win 1 more or 2 more games in the regular season? Basically nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give credit to your guys' fans. We haven't really played Nebraska in anything, and I mean, you should have seen the comments on the last video. 99% Cornhusker fans. I mean, the average predicted score was like 38-3. It was like a 35-point win. I'm like, hey, Vegas is doing us about 6.5, 7, guys. Let's calm down.
What'd you say? Did you poke them a little bit?
I mean, it was like the most innocent poke ever. We were like, I mean, we could potentially win. They're like, these guys are complete jackasses. These guys have no idea what football is about. I'm like, all right, guys. And I love it. I mean,
if you have takes on football in Nebraska, like the word Nebraska is uttered somewhere on the internet, it will be found and it will be brought to people's attention. Yeah.
Thank you for the SEO, Nebraska. We appreciate it. Let's keep it going.
They've gone up on my delusional fan base power rankings, and we need UC Bearcats fans to go up on that power ranking as well. It's good to come into the season with a little bit of optimism.
It's great to have the passion, 100%. Like, you'd rather have it that way than the other way. I'd rather people be overly optimistic than whatever. But you do get the other side too. I mean, there's a lot of people who are just like, no, I can't I can't do anything with this until they actually, because I've gotten excited before every year, but I can't do anything with this until something actually happens, until they're not stupid on special teams, until they don't, until they stop turning the ball over at a remarkable rate on the offensive side. So, there's people like that as well. You get both sides.
Yeah, and I mean, Nebraska really does have a ton of hype going into the season. It is not the same scenario over here in UC land. But you mentioned Dylan Raiola, obviously highly hyped. He had an okay as a freshman. You don't see many guys that do better than he did. So it's kind of a wait and see there. Are you worried, though, with being an Arrowhead? We know that Dylan Raiola does the same, pregame thing as Patrick Mahomes. He looks like Patrick Mahomes, same look. Are you worried that he might actually think that he's Patrick Mahomes when he enters the stadium, starts doing behind-the-back passes, sidearm passes, throws a couple pick sixes? Is that a worry at all?
I think that'd be great if he actually thought he was Patrick Mahomes. I don't know how hopefully it wouldn't result in bad things for them, but no, he should not try the behind the back passes and stuff like that. I'm sure there will be some winks to that during the game and things like that. I imagine the television broadcast will probably, put up a side by side and all those different things, but he's talked about that because he gets asked about it a lot and he hears it a lot. So he talks about it quite a bit, and he always downplays it. It's like, yeah, man, I mean, like, I wear number 15. We kind of look the same. Like, I can't do anything about it, but he does play into it quite a bit. He said recently that he wore number 15 originally because of his favorite college football player was Tim Tebow, which is it's kind of fascinating. I was like, really? I didn't really know that. I just figured you were Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes were 5 in college. So yeah, Dylan is he's gone over a little bit of a change this offseason. He's changed his body a little bit. I think he's matured. He's one of the sort of leaders on the team now. So maybe he takes less crap this year because, he just is a better consistent player. Maybe he starts kind of ignoring it a little bit more, but that's always going to chase him around until he's a really good college football player.
We'll get the screenwrite out there. We'll get the production team, and we'll get a little like Mike football version where he finds Calvin Cambridge, Patrick Mahomes shoes in this instance, and turns into Mahomes. Anyways, Raiola, 13 touchdowns, 11 interceptions in his freshman year. Not really a running threat. 67% completion rate, but like Sorsby, did not find the deep ball a whole ton based on the stats, but stats can lie. That's why we're asking a man that watches all the games. What is this guy's ability and his receiver's ability to beat you with the deep ball? Because Cincy's secondary has been Swiss cheese during this Scott Satterfield era, and that's an area where you can just destroy the Bearcats.
Yeah, those stats are a little bit misleading because they, especially with the deep ball stuff, his yards per attempt was probably pretty low last year. So I would imagine because they threw downfield, and when they did, it felt like this is anecdotal, but it felt like 50% of the time they were getting pass interference calls. There was just a lot of bumping on the edge. I mean, there was a shot that he took in the USC game in the back of the end zone where his wide receiver Jamal Banks was getting completely held. It would have been like a potential game tying touchdown, right? So there was a lot of that stuff last year. I think that's why the deep ball didn't quite hit at quite a high enough rate. It was known in high school as a guy that threw a beautiful deep ball, and I don't think that there was much to move me off of that from last year outside of just completing it at a high rate. So they hope that the receivers paired along with the offensive coordinator and the quarterback, will be able to create more separation. They went and got 2 transfer receivers last year with Jamal Banks and Isaiah Nair. And those guys, I think Banks was a hit for them. Nair was inconsistent, oftentimes injured, made a couple like wow plays. The 2 that they replaced them with this year are Dane Key and Isaiah Hunter, as you mentioned before. And those guys, I mean, Key has been consistent as heck at Kentucky over the last couple of years, and Hunter was just a freshman at Cal last year, where he was a really, really solid player for them. And then Ja'Cory Barney, after his first season, smaller guy, a little bit more toward the line of scrimmage, but man, he does not mind going downfield and taking hits either. So that was a thing. He always held on to the ball. So I think they have a pretty well improved wide receiver room this year. Not that it was bad last year, but I do think that receiver room is improved quite a bit, and I think Rhule can throw the deep ball. I don't know if that was exactly the answer that you're looking for, but the formula is there for them to be able to be a little bit explosive on offense for sure.
And shout out Dane Key. I actually, during my local TV days, Connor, covered Dane Key at Frederick Douglass in Kentucky. And actually, right as the pandemic hit, the sports guys, we were no longer able to see people in person, go to practices, that sort of thing. So I had zero content. This is before the world shut down. We were kind of in that limbo mode. And Dane Key agreed to meet me at a park with a mask on to do like a little quarantine interview. I actually had like a 6-foot rod connected to my microphone. We got the socially distant end. So
that's
good
awesome.
dude. Yeah, good dude, good player. And actually another dude, former Husker that transferred to Kentucky to complete the swap, Wan'Dale Robinson. We covered him in our market too at Western Hills High School. I swear to God, he ran for like 900 yards a game.
Oh man, he was a hell of a player. They were so happy to get him at the time, and then utilized him in probably the wrong ways when he was here under Scott Frost and transferred and had a great career at Kentucky. So yeah, man, he would have been a heck of a player at Nebraska.
Yeah, so you mentioned the aerial attack with Rhule. So Emmett Johnson coming back at running back looks almost 1,000 all-purpose yards last year. Typically, when UC plays, and I think Matt Rhule even mentioned it actually, bulletin board material, they struggle in the trenches against Big Ten SEC level linemen. But really, with our defense, with the Godfather Corleone clogging up the interior, we should be pretty effective against the run. But that's not to say that, we can't get ran on as well. And our DBs have struggled. I would say our defense was complete ass the last couple of years. So hopefully we improve there, but got a lot of faces. I guess my question would be, where do you anticipate Nebraska to beat us? More through the air or a running attack?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't even think it's opponent specific. I'm wondering that myself, just about the team. Like, where are they going to be better? Because I think they have the recipe to be able to do both pretty well. I know when you look at the offensive, statistics over the last couple of years, and then, the closest one was last year, obviously, with Rhule at quarterback. You look at it and you're like, man, this is not very good. I mean, whatever, however many points per game, it wasn't enough, and yards per game, it wasn't enough. It wasn't an explosive offense. I think they have a chance to really flip that script this year. I think they could have a legit offense. We're talking top 30, 40 offense in the country. So I do think they'll be able to run it pretty well. The offensive lineman beefed up in the offseason. They went and got a transfer starter from Notre Dame at guard named Rocco Spindler. Good player, played a national championship game last year. They went and got a tackle transfer from Alabama, Elijah Pritchett, who was their right tackle last year, probably going to be Nebraska's right tackle this year. And then Justin Evans is back at center, and Gunnar Gatula is at left tackle. And then they like a guy by the name of Henry Lutovsky as well at guard. So they love their offensive line. It's been kind of years in the making, developing, kind of getting to this point, but they feel as if they're, old, experienced, depth. They have all of those things. So I look around at all the spots in the offense and I say, it's hard for me to tell where the holes are. I'm sure they will present themselves, but it's not because of a lack of personnel. I do think they have the guys to be a pretty good offense. And then, like I keep saying, you pair that along with, a historically really good offensive coordinator, they got a chance to do some things. So yeah, I think they'll be able to run it. Backup running back, you can't give Emmett, he's a smaller guy, Emmett Johnson. So you got to manage his carries a little bit. They've had a little bit of trouble identifying a second running back. They're adamant that a guy by the name of Mekhi Nelson is probably gonna be that guy for them this year, and then a freshman by the name of Isaiah Mosey could potentially step in and play in that spot as well. But we'll see what happens after Emmett. But man, if you look around, just on that top group, it's a pretty sharp looking unit.
I'm interested to hear your take on Scott Satterfield as a whole. You're a college football fan. I'm sure you at least know something of what he did at Louisville before he came to Cincinnati. You may not have your eyes set on Cincinnati or anything, but you saw from afar that, Satterfield goes from Louisville to Cincy, who at the time were in the American. Sure, they're going into the Big 12 for his first year, but it seemed like a little bit of a weird trade-off there. Knowing what you know now, what you've seen with Cincy, what you know about Satterfield, do you think this guy lasts from a non-biased party? Do you think he lasts in the Queen City?
That's a great question. I mean, you're right. I haven't really thought about it all that much. I know that the transition, I mean, take this from a Nebraska fan who, the transition from conferences has not been easy on Nebraska. Now, that was quite a long time ago. Nebraska joined the Big Ten in 2011, but, Bo Pelini was their coach at the time, and he just wasn't able to really figure it out. They were at a different level. I mean, he didn't come in and inherit a team that ended up winning, going 3-9 or whatever it was. So they were at a different spot, but they never really figured it out. And now Nebraska is in the decades since Bo got fired. They've just been trying to find their way as a member of the Big Ten Conference. So the conference switch is really tricky. I think you find that with a lot of schools that made the jump, whether it be from Group of Five to Power Five or Power Five to Power Five. It's just tough to navigate over a long period of time. But with that being said, I mean, there's no reason why Cincinnati as a program can't, be one of the, in the top group of the Big 12. I view the Big 12 as a wide open conference, and it'll change year by year. I mean, everybody always goes to Arizona State and what they did last year. It's a great example. Like that can be done. So without knowing like the particulars on, the way the wind is blowing for Satterfield, that's a guy who's won games as a college head coach, and he's at a good, solid program at Cincinnati. This feels like a really big year for him. I don't know if he lasts, but this year might tell you a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you guys just want to lay down on week one just to get Satterfield extended, I don't even know if I'd enjoy that or not.
Do you like him? Like, are people good with him or what?
I think.
Can I
go ahead?
Can I give my spiel and then you give your spiel? So my spiel would be: the football team and basketball team have not been bad at the same time in Hudson in my 32 years of living, and it's been brutal. So a lot of the rage that I have towards Scott actually comes from Wes. During the basketball season, as little as that makes sense. But I would say year one brings in Emory Jones, and it clearly just like didn't work early. And then he never really went to a backup. He just continued to ride with Emory, who was a fifth-year senior and had no future at UC. And it was like, you're really not going to go to either of your two backups and at least see what we have. And he'd go to him for like a play, and we got destroyed every game. The play calling was a little iffy. So I was just like, I don't know. Last year he gets off to the great start. I apologize. I'm like, I'm all on the Satterfield train. Former ACC coach of the year, baby. This guy has it. And then they lay down. They lose 5 straight games to end the season. And there's a lot of coach speak in there. There's a lot of, we need to show some toughness. I call it the Boy Scout trait, where you just don't really get jazzed up listening to him necessarily. But he continuously brings back his best players: Corleone, Royer, Sorsby. So for that, I'm at least optimistic. I don't know about you, Hudson.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of the injury bug hit us, and people forget, with like 4 games left in Big 12 play, we were still in contention to win the damn thing, and then just completely shit the bed down the stretch. And to Chuck's point, yeah, it's just really retention of guys like Royer, Sorsby, Corleone. It seems like he hasn't completely lost the locker room, even though he's only won 8 games in 2 seasons. So this is a make or break year. It's the same with the basketball team. Like, this is it. If he can't make a bowl game, I mean, that is, with this schedule that we have, we're not in the Big 10. We're in the Big 12. Like you said, it's a very winnable conference. There's no juggernauts, really. It's wide open. You got to win. I want to say he's got to win at least 7 personally. But, who knows what happens. But listen, I'm confident in Scott. Let me rephrase that. Confident in Scott going into this season.
I was going to say, it didn't really sound like it, but I like the bookend there. Yeah, I mean, it's a long time removed from that success at Appalachian State now. So yeah, they got to get things going.
Yeah, for sure. And little throwback Thursday before we get to the throwback Thursday. Houdini, you got something?
No, I was just going to say, no, you go ahead, Chuck. I was going to say when Louisville, Connor, you're probably aware of this. Matt Rhule, this didn't happen with him. When the opposing fan base that loses the coach everybody is commenting to you like, thank God, get him out of our town immediately. I was like, that's a red flag for me.
Funny enough, that happened. That happened when Matt Rhule hired his first offensive coordinator here. His name is Marcus Satterfield. They are not related. And he was the OC at South Carolina. And they announced that he was, leaving to be on Rhule staff at Nebraska. And the South Carolina fans were like, good luck, have fun. And we were like, come on, he'll be fine. He was not fine. It did not end up very well on offense. So there is definitely something to that.
Yeah, we're hoping that that's not what happens to us, because a lot of the things that they warned us about have come true. They're like, enjoy going for it every 4th and 3 and running it up the middle and getting stuff for a loss of 1. And we've seen it quite a bit. He's aggressive. I'll give him that. He is very aggressive, but he's got some hot pants on right now. Throwback Thursday, last thing I wanted to get to, Nebraska, Cincinnati. We don't have a ton of history in either sports, either the two big ones. Basketball, there were some matchups during the Mick Cronin era. I think it may have been split. Tim Miles, shout out. I think he's at San Jose State right now. That's a hell of a coach that got San Jose State to play some good basketball, considering how bad the Spartans have been. And then he did good things at Nebraska. So shout out to Tim. Cool dude. And then football-wise, I think the history that we have with you guys is just
one matchup
rooting on Nebraska to go to the national championship, or excuse me, yes, to go to the national championship and knock out Texas, or at least win that game, knock out Texas, and Cincinnati would have gone to the national championship. I'm talking 2009, the Colt McCoy game where he threw it out of bounds. Wow. There was like a second. Yeah, so Cincinnati was waiting in the wings to go to that title game to lose by about 1,000 to Nick Saban. But we would have kept Brian Kelly probably. He would have been here with his family.
Because that's a game that, I mean, you bring that up and that's a tough one to swallow. I mean,
it had big stakes for us, man.
Yeah, I didn't even, I guess I probably knew that, but I didn't really realize that, or I didn't connect the dots on that. That is,
that's how long we've been a good program for, man. People forget that Cincy's had some decent teams.
So they played once in football in the early 1900s. And I do remember one Nebraska-Cincinnati basketball game. It was in Lincoln. Oh, this is probably almost a decade ago now. Getting close to a decade ago.
We were bad on the road early, Mick Cronin.
Double overtime, and I believe the final score was 56-55. It was the biggest abomination I've ever seen in my life. Nebraska won, and I left afterwards. I'm like, what just happened? How did that even work? And then, now Cronin's in the Big Ten. They came here with UCLA last year, trying to do the same type of stuff, just play a whole bunch of defense and try and get away with that. I cover Creighton too. Cincinnati Creighton played in the NCAA tournament probably about a decade ago.
We had the zebra shorts that game.
Yes. Yep. They had Cincinnati had one really good player. That
we had a couple. We had Kilpatrick. We had Kashmir Wright. We had Jaquan Parker. Yeah. There were some decent players on that team.
They never put it together. But that would have been Doug McDermott's junior year, I believe. And so. Yeah, he's an all-timer. They ended up losing to Duke, I think, in the next game.
Yeah, Shaq Thomas had and we never get to play Duke, unfortunately, because we lost to Rhode Island in some tournament beforehand. We're always so fired up to see Duke on that schedule, and then we just lose the game before Duke. But I remember Shaq Thomas. You wouldn't remember this name. He had a tip slam in that game, and I'm like, this guy is the next big thing. And he was not the next big thing. Decent player, but that's about it. Hudson, you got anything else?
Yeah, I got a non-football question for you. So in the banter with the Nebraska fans, they were kind of going at our local cuisine, Skyline Chili, and they were trying to one-up us with this place. It's brand new to me. Is it Runza? And it looks like Runza. So I'm looking at this. It looks like a Hot Pocket restaurant. Can you just tell me a little bit about Runza and what's going on there in Nebraska?
I'm glad you asked. Okay, so first of all, I was in Cincinnati in May, and I set out with Creighton baseball because they were playing there for the Big East tournament. And I said, I was like, I gotta get the Skyline Chili, because I like stuff like that. Like, people are repulsed by the idea of it, but I mean, it sounds good to me, like noodles, chili, and cheese, like that sounds fine. So I just at least wanted to try it, and I never did, and I regret it. But then I saw like the cans of chili in the airport, and I was kind of like, whoa, I don't think that I want to do that. So I'll make it back to Cincinnati at some point. So runs
Coney though. Don't do the
Okay.
noodles. I speak for the smart ones out there. Coney. It's the hot dog instead of the noodles. It's
Okay.
Houdini, give me the thumbs up if that's a superior order.
No. If he wants to try, everybody's got the conies. If you want to try the real Skyline, you got to go with the 3-way with the spaghetti. Stay away from the cans though. If you open that up at your house back in Nebraska, you're gonna puke. I mean, it looks like
I was
chocolate
quite concerned about taking it on an airplane. That was not going to happen. So, all right, that's good advice. Well, I'll do it all. I'll do it big next time I get out to Cincinnati. So Arunza, pretty popular, like fast food chain around here. Their locations are basically only in the state of Nebraska. There might be a few in Iowa and like Colorado or something like that, but it's a Nebraska thing. And it's a really good restaurant. It has great burgers. It has great fries. And then they have this thing called the Runza, which that's a pretty good way to describe it. The original food item is called it's a German beer rock is what it's called. So it's basically dough is the outside, and then the inside is ground beef basically and cabbage, and it sounds sort of repulsing. But they put cheese in them. They do like a Philly cheesesteak Runza. They do like an Italian Runza. They've kicked around the idea of doing a breakfast Runza. It's good. I like it. Runza as a restaurant gets thrown under the bus because it looks so crazy. But it's a really great, fast food restaurant around here. So I'm in on it. I could understand why you would look at it and say, "Oh my God, what is happening? What are they eating in Nebraska?" But it's actually pretty legit. The other thing that Nebraskans do that you can get at Runza, chili and cinnamon rolls, which once again, take a second to digest that. It's kind of insane sounding. You literally have a cinnamon roll, you dip it in chili, or you just put the entire cinnamon roll in chili. But you guys are familiar with chili, so maybe it doesn't sound so bad to you. But yeah, there's a few things. It's like, whoa, what's going on in Nebraska?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the power rankings of just random foods that different places offer. I actually did Buc-ee's in Texas over the weekend. Then someone's like, we have Buc-ee's in Alabama. Everyone has Buc-ee's apparently, but that place is sick. The jerky bar and fudge. Oh, Buc-ee's is great. So we'll have to add Runza to the list to go along with Tudor's Biscuit World. And
I might order some, and they ship them out. So you can actually order them. I mean, maybe it's the same thing.
They ship them out.
Skyline. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We should eat them on air. Oh, we should do for the live watch party. We should eat them on air. Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm sure you got to pay a premium to get that. I'm excited about this game because we get to drive 3 hours down the road and get some Kansas City barbecue, which is always exciting for everyone.
That's top-notch stuff, man. Top-notch stuff. Connor Happer, the guest on the program today. You can check him out on the Connor Happer Show, Locked On Nebraska. Just search his name on the internet, and if he does his job well, he will not be hard to find, hopefully. Yep. Connor, thanks for joining the program today, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.